It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. From Fantha Tracks TV, this is Good Morning Tatooine!
Good morning, Tatooine, indeed. Here for a special midweek edition of the show, and we're catching up after missing the weekend because we were away on a little adventure, which we'll get to later in the show. So what we're going to be covering on today's show. First up, we're going to be talking about Rancho Obi-Wan gala coming back to in person from August 2022. We're going to have a little look at Andor at Cleveley's Promenade. And we're going to talk about J.J. Abrams on his comments about pre-planning when it came to the sequel trilogy. John Boyega has commented on a return to Star Wars. We'll be getting our thoughts on that. Then we'll have a look at the High Republic Trail of Shadows comic announced by Marvel. And where were we on Sunday? Well, myself and my guest, we were in the southern part of Scotland where they're going to be shooting Andor, and we're going to take you for a little first look behind the scenes there. And lastly, we'll head to Jabba's Court, where the discussion topic of the week, The Bad Batch Episode 5, Rampage. As always, we need you to subscribe and ring the bell if you're on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, hit like, follow us, share the content. It all helps get the word out there. And most importantly, we need to get your comments. So use the YouTube chat. If you're on Facebook, add your comments underneath the show. We'll include as much as we can in the show. And who's my guest today? None other than Darth Elvis himself, Greg Robertson. How are you, Greg?
All good, sir. Hot dang. Good morning, Tatooine. How's it going?
We were away on a little adventure this past weekend, which is why there was no Sunday show and why we're here midweek. But first, let's talk about more important things. What you do for Fantha Tracks. So, you're part of Desert Planet Discs on Fantha Tracks Radio. Tell us a little bit about the show.
So, Desert Planet Discs is a crazy idea that myself and Carl, Mr. Mooncat Drums himself, came up with, playing Star Wars themed music from all around the galaxy. Parody artists, people writing original songs, having special guests come on and talk about their influences and how Star Wars has influenced their music. And we talk all the latest sort of news as well. And been going 2 years almost, I think, or a year and a half. Yeah, so it's
so jump on your podcast of choice, type in Fantha Tracks Radio, and you'll find Desert Planet Discs on there, and get a listen. And of course, if people aren't familiar with you, you have an alter ego of Darth Elvis. People can check you out on YouTube at your Darth Elvis channel there. You've got a new video just out, which can't play the soundtrack on Facebook, I'm afraid, because of copyright issues it may incur, because even though it's a parody, and a great parody at that, can you tell us a little bit about Darth Elvis and the content that you produce?
Absolutely. So, yeah, Darth Elvis was born be 15 years ago next year. So it'll be the first performance I did was at Star Wars Celebration Europe back in 2007, doing Star Wars themed Elvis parodies to start with. But now, I guess over the 15 years, kind of developed a wee bit more and done songs by other artists. So started off myself, and then Darth Elvis and the Imperials, and now Darth Elvis and Friends with two other fanfare trackers, Mr. Carl Desert Planet Discs Bayless and Andy Life from Blues Harvest. So if we're not writing stuff together, I still do the odd tune myself, like the one you see just now, which is Chut Chut, which is a parody of Lionel Richie's Hello. It was just a crazy idea. Came to me, and I was listening to another podcast, and they started referencing Chut Chut from Attack of the Clones, and that kind of put the idea in my head to do a Lionel Richie parody.
Why not?
As it happens. Yeah.
Can't beat Lionel Richie.
Can't beat Lionel Richie. So excited to hopefully get back to doing some gigs, hopefully in 2022. Have to do it because it's my 50th anniversary next year. So you do some shows.
You did Celebration last time out in America as well?
Absolutely, yeah. That was a blast. At the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, guesting with Blues Harvest, and they had some mighty fine good guests on stage with them that night, including Jet Lucas and Vanessa Marshall and the Mystery Porg. # Mystery Porg. So,
and Mr. Newbold there's happily added the link to Choot Choot, the video, which is up on Fanta Tracks, and as well as the Darth Elvis YouTube channel here. So got no excuses, people. You can find the link in the comments.
Thank you very much. Thank you much, Mark.
And so let's move swiftly on to this week's news. First news item we're going to cover is Rancho Obi-Wan making a return. As we just spoke about, looking forward to getting back to meeting people in person again and actually doing things in person. And Rancho Obi-Wan's got their virtual gala this year coming up in October, but they've also announced in person they'll be coming back in August next year, when Celebration was supposed to be. So really handy for people that maybe booked to go to California. You've got now no excuse. You can head over to Rancho Obi-Wan, an incredible experience. Have you had a chance to head there yourself before?
Not yet, no. I've been a supporter for many a year now, but not actually had the chance to go. We had considered going hopefully in 2018, but we only had, I think it was 10 days in with Vegas and LA, so we have the time, unfortunately, to pop up to San Francisco. But it's very tempting. 2022, that's the day before my birthday, so it's very tempting.
The virtual gala on October 23rd, that's my birthday, so we've both got a potential birthday present there. I can have the virtual gala this year. You could perhaps get the one in person next year. And
ask my wife to buy me flights to San Francisco, and I'm bang on board there.
Well worth the trip. I've been to Rancho once. I had the pleasure of going for one of the galas a couple of years back with Mr. Booker, Mr. Newbold from Fanta Tracks as well were there. And it was a great experience. Your mind will be absolutely blown with all the content that's there. So it's a real pleasure to be shown round by Steve and enjoyed the fun of the gala, including the Skywalker Ranch wine that was on offer as well.
Have a little bit of that, would be very nice. I can see Mark Hamilton's very tempted. There he is.
Yeah. Mr. Booker there, he had a great time, and as well as Mr. Newbold all chiming in. So definitely one to mark on the calendars for next year. Moving on to the next news item. Andor's filming all over the UK. We're going to be talking about our trip to the set in Scotland shortly, but there also is a great video which I'm just going to load up now from Street Rogue Photography, so I encourage everybody to go and check it out. Guy's done a series of 3 pretty incredible videos, which he narrates as well. Talks you through the whole process of what he's seen, from his thoughts of what they were going to film beforehand until afterwards. Guy's obviously a professional photographer, so the work he's done, beautiful, whether it's the still shots he shows or the drones. We were talking about this just before the show, and you've had a chance to check out the videos. What were your thoughts?
Just stunning. I mean, the drone work he's got in this is brilliant, and just the mixture of the still photography and the drones, and it's just fantastic. And he's done a great job. So another subscriber here for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just great that they're seeing they're using like locations around the UK now, as well as obviously the studio. It's just great.
And the video maker here, obviously, he commented during the video that he'd long commented about it would be a great location to shoot a Star Wars film. And he's right. When you look at it, it looks in many respects otherworldly. And you get, as you'll get into the video, you get a chance to see some of the changes they've made to the local buildings and promenade to make it a little bit more Star Wars-y, and some of the extras and so on, some of the cast members pop up in the video as well. And as you can see, just beautiful videos there. So everything seems to be focused around this kind of main area here, where there's a cafe, and they've kind of converted it into. I'm guessing it's a seaside resort almost in the Star Wars galaxy, because I noticed, I'm a fish kind of guy, so I noticed biorbs, which is kind of like a kind of fish tank with fish in it, and I wondered if they're playing on the beach theme, and because initially when I first saw it, I thought maybe spaceport they were going for, but I'm thinking they're running with the beach and space theme. What's your thoughts? What do you think they could be planning on at this location?
I think you're right there. I mean, spoiler alert: there was obviously shore troopers spotted on the set, and I think there's video footage of them. You can see them running and jumping over the top of one of the promenade bits. So I think you're right. I think it's some sort of Brighton Beach in a galaxy far, far away sort of style.
Yeah. And I'm going to stop the video at this point because I don't want to give away too much. I want people to go and check out for themselves over on the Street Rogue Photography's YouTube channel. Getting a link there. You'll also find the article up on Fantha Tracks as well, where you can check the video out on the site, click through and check out the other two videos as well. So let's move on to next item on the list for today's discussion. J.J. Abrams has been talking about the sequel trilogy, and it seems to be anything that's mentioned about the sequel trilogy kicks off all kinds of fuss in the Star Wars community. And J.J. made a little comment about pre-planning and the benefits of pre-planning. Your thoughts on what J.J. had to say?
There's three words kind of came to mind, and the first one's no, and the last one's Sherlock. I think, having if they planned them out properly from the start, you probably wouldn't have so much divide with the fan base around them. Speaking as a big supporter of The Last Jedi, I love that film. It's probably my second favorite Star Wars film of all time.
Mr. Naylor might not be agreeing with that comment.
I absolutely love The Last Jedi. My only complaint with The Last Jedi is the riding through the streets on the Faviers. I thought the special effects in that scene were fantastic, but I just love it, just the look of the film. But I'm a big Rian Johnson fanboy, so and I have been since first saw Brick. But yeah, if they kind of got round a table and discussed it, and kind of this is the direction the characters are going in, and kind of stuck with it, then I think it'd be a bigger success than they were. I mean, obviously they were a big success. It's Star Wars; they're going to make a lot of money, but I think you would have had the fan base more on board with the three movies.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. We had a long discussion, I think, on the journey down about the sequel trilogy, and I kind of come to the point where not all Star Wars content has to be for me. And my biggest complaint about the sequel trilogy has always been the lack of planning, and that it felt like Ryan Johnson was undoing parts of 7, and like 9 unquestionably deliberately undid parts of 8. And so rather than complement each other, they were almost fighting against each other, where if there had been some kind of, even a mild roadmap of where the characters were going, it could have worked a whole lot better. But
Yeah.
and I think I've kind of come to the point where The Last Jedi is not for me, but I applaud Ryan Johnson for at least trying to do something different and challenge the norm, and it just didn't work out for my taste, but many people did enjoy it. And so if every bit of Star Wars is my taste, and they're probably not doing it right because they're not really pushing the envelope. And if one thing George liked to do was push the envelope with Star Wars all the time, sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Each episode was totally different. He was always pushing the boundaries with technology to, bring the movies forward. So, and I think that's where obviously they're succeeding with the Mandalorian, with the volume, that the sort of technology that George wanted for Star Wars Underground TV show. I forget the name of Underworld. Star Wars Underworld, was that the TV show he was working on?
That's the one.
Yeah. So that was the sort of technology he probably would have been wanting for that, to make it affordable to make those shows back then. So yeah, they keep needing to push the boundaries with the technology.
And obviously JJ's now moving on to another franchise, and Superman, according to the rumours.
Yeah, I wish he'd go back to making. Good point, Mark. Well done, Mulcaster. I just wish he'd go back to making original stuff, original TV shows, original movies.
For me, his TV work was the best of everything that he's kind of done. Even the shows that weren't particularly mainstream successful, I'm thinking shows like Fringe didn't do particularly fantastic in the ratings, and always seemed to be a challenge to stay on the air. I loved that show. So
it was a great show. Yeah, I loved that as well. Fantastic, great cast.
JJ's got a point. Planning helps, and from everyone's perspective, probably lesson learnt for everybody. And next time around, you could get JJ and Ryan Johnson working on a trilogy, and they could do wonders together. Because I think there's no disrespect amongst them, which is the key thing. They just had different ambitions. And talking about ambitions, move on to the next subject. John Boyega has had his criticisms for Lucasfilm in the past, but obviously enjoyed his time working with Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams. At least he's open to the conversation, as long as they would be involved, of returning to Star Wars, something that maybe surprised a few people. Your thoughts on?
I would, absolutely agree. Obviously, following some of the interviews he's done about Disney, and obviously how they treated the character, and how the story he was expecting, I think, a bigger part in the 3 movies, and which didn't really happen. He's a fantastic actor, good guy. I think he definitely deserved to have a bigger part in the 3 movies than he eventually got at the end of the day. So I'd love to see more of Finn, definitely. And it'd be interesting to get more of the backstory about how he became a stormtrooper in the first place from a young child. It'd be good to see how that all kind of came to, like, flashbacks to that. Would be quite good.
Do you see that happening Disney Plus, or do you think it could be a spin-off movie in its own right, or where do you think it could most likely end up? I'm actually even throwing the door open to animation, and some of the actors from the sequel trilogy may prefer to come in and do the voiceover work.
So I was going to say, I mean, if not a Disney Plus live action TV show, animation would be the way to go. I think it'd be fantastic. Get the original voice cast, the original actors back to do the voices of animated. Be great. I'd like to see more animated shows. I'm a big believer. It'd be great to get like an expanded universe animated TV show going. kind of in the Marvel what if kind of category, but you'd have Star Wars Legends, and you could retell some of the books in animation for even like animated movie of the year type of thing.
Yeah.
Give us the Thrawn trilogy in animated form, or Shadows of the Empire, or be great.
It seems to be something they're willing to push. Obviously we've got, I think we're expecting it kind of later this year, the Star Wars Visions. Certainly, if you look at the fact that there's a novel coming out in October, you kind of expect the novel to drop similar time to the show on Disney Plus. So they certainly seem to be willing to come up with new ideas for animation and push the envelope there as well.
Absolutely, I think that's one of the shows I'm most excited about. With the little kind of teaser you got of that, sort of images of like a sort of Ronin style lightsaber wielder. I'm very, very excited about that show.
And Boyega has also just announced that he's going to be returning for an Attack of the Block sequel as well. Excited for that.
Oh yes, the first movie is awesome. I think that was the first thing I saw John Boyega in. Might even be his first performance, but unbelievably good as Moses in that film. And it's good to see. I forget his name. Adam and Joe. Joe Cornish, he's coming back to direct it. Yeah. So, fantastic. Yeah, we're excited about that.
Okay, moving...
What about yourself? What are you thinking?
I first encountered him on 24, so I was quite late. I missed Attack of the Block. I never saw Attack of the Block until after he'd been cast for The Phantom Menace, and I started going back and looking to find out a little bit about these actors. So I don't think I'm as excited for the sequel because I wasn't there in the initial buzz. I didn't experience it in cinema. But yeah, I like Joe Cornish's work, so very happy to see him taking the realms of the sequel there. And great that Boyega would come back and do it, because I imagine he's pretty much out of the pay bracket for a movie at that level. So it really is him showing his love and respect for the movies that's kind of helped build up his initial career, that he's willing to take a pay cut, I imagine, to feature in that sequel.
Absolutely, multi-award winning now, so yeah, he's taking a pay cut.
Definitely. The High Republic still hitting bookshelves everywhere, whether it be comics, whether it be the novels, young adult books. The second wave starts later this month, and Marvel's riding the wave as well by announcing a little spin-off comic. So obviously they've got their High Republic ongoing series, but coming in October they're going to do a little spin-off called Trail of Shadows. So that was announced. Daniel Jose Older's going to be writing that. David Watcher on art. It's going to be something a little bit different in that it's kind of going to be a kind of detective kind of tale. So they're trying to open up Star Wars to different genres as well. Have you been following the High Republic, picking up the comics, or where you place in terms of the High Republic?
I'm well behind. I'm currently, I think I've about 4 or 5 hours left of the audiobook of Light of the Jedi. So I've not read in the comics yet, because I believe they take place after that book. So I thought I'll get the book finished, I'll catch up with the comics. I've got a lot of catching up to do, unfortunately, in book-wise.
And it's relentless at the moment. The next 3 novels all out within the next 6 weeks, I think.
Crikey.
And they'll keep announcing more and more. So this one, like I said, it's going to be like a noir-style mystery. So I like the fact they're doing something a little bit different. I love that every October in the past they've kind of done like a horror comic. So I'm glad that this October they're carrying on the tradition of something in the winter months to change it up, take a different genre, put Star Wars on it and see what happens. Although I do believe they might still be doing something horror related as well this year. So
would that be over IDW, do you think, or?
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Right.
I think that seems to be the sort of the home for that, I think. So the next big item we want to talk about is the road trip we did this past week. So the best way to kick it off is like trying to explain where we went. Are you going to have a crack at the name? Because I still haven't decided how we're pronouncing it. I'm thinking it's Crockendam.
I was going to say Cruachan Reservoir, Cruachan Dam. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's near a little village called Dalmally. That bit we know. And on the road as you head south towards Oban, not too far away from Loch Lomond, surrounded by all the lochs round about. You can see there on the map Loch Awe, right there. At the bottom of the hill there is a power station which normally would have a visitor centre open, closed for COVID related reasons. And we took the road trip down, which is pretty significant for us, quite a good few hours into the Scottish, south of the Scottish Highlands, into real country, real hills, real lochs, bit of an adventure, and went for a little walk to see what we could find. And so that's the kind of impression of the kind of area. You are in the middle of pretty much nowhere when you were right there.
Lovely though, Argyll and Butte. I think that's the first time we'd both been down that neck of the woods.
It is, yeah,
really.
Definitely. Passed through, never stopped. So definitely nice to get out and experience the country air down there. Yeah, so stunning scenery all around as we sort of ventured up. And with it being a power plant in the area, there's actually like an underground facility you can actually visit, which if you have a little Google for the reservoir, you'll find it. Stunning pictures, which itself could be in a Star Wars film. And so part of the route up, pretty much tarmacked, accessible, not to the general public by car. You've got to go by foot, because you are on a private road as you head up there. And still, again, stunning views. And when you get to the top, you will, well, I say the top, it's not quite the top. when you get to the valley before the real hill, you encounter amazing sort of viaduct type structure of a dam. And at that location, they kind of had their sort of base camp, their vehicles, their tents all set up, getting ready for production. That gives you kind of an idea of how remote a location it is. I think you'd mentioned sheep, quite a problem. Everywhere you turned, there was a sheep.
Absolutely. Yes, everywhere I turned, there was a sheep looking at me and giving me the eye. In fact, I had to, apologies. I had to do a country wee on the way up because, as we say, a long car journey, and we didn't stop. So, as I was doing that, there was a couple of goats giving me the stink eye. So, it was, it was quite surprising. You would turn around and there would be a sheep just standing there right next to you.
So in Ireland, they kind of handled the puffins by making them porgs. Got any hope what they're going to turn a sheep into?
A little bantha.
Little banthas.
Little banthas, yeah.
Zooming in a little bit there gives you an idea of the kind of structure. Kind of think that's going to feature in the film, based on where they seem to be setting up. They certainly be setting up to film in that direction.
I think so. Yeah, it's such a great look. I think it fits Star Wars perfectly. So, yeah, I think that'll definitely feature.
And that kind of gives you maybe the first idea of what you could kind of encounter when you're up there. Is there is kind of, I'm calling it the Empire Strikes Back style gun turret kind of thing that kind of you would expect to encounter on Hoth or a planet like that. And obviously security's tight. You're not getting up there with a car if you're not got a pass. Security's going to stop you. Shouldn't be on that road because it is a private road, as we said, with vehicles anyway.
I'm wondering how he got past the first security guard. That was my. How did he manage to get past?
Obviously, they're kind of working there, so they're still building, not quite ready to film. So there was some equipment and bits and pieces laid out, and they've got holding areas. Obviously, if they've got materials to help them get ready for filming. And this is the kind of main set piece at that kind of location. What was your take on it?
Looking at that and looking at the dam in the background, my gut feeling is this is a Imperial base as opposed to anything Rebel. Also thinking about the timeline with it being a prequel to Rogue One. The rebellion would be very much in the early stages. Looking at the gun there as well, I was just thinking, I don't know, it feels more Imperial to me.
Yeah.
But just seeing that with the skyline and looking at that with the dam in the background is just, I think it'll be a stunning piece of film when that's done.
Yeah, Steve Jordan there kind of looks like something out of World War II with the bunkers, and you could definitely turn it into that kind of like a secret facility of some description. You've kind of had that in Rogue One, I guess, with the data center there that they infiltrated. This could be something much more rural and land-based. What the hiding is Andor there to try and destroy a secret base or recover something from a secret base.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I was pointing out there, in terms of bunkers, it looks very much like something you'd see on the beaches in Normandy or something. Also, the gun added on top there, but a bit like the Death Star gun. Absolutely.
All sorts of greebles. All sorts of weapons and everything. Obviously, they're still building. Probably going to be adding more stuff to that kind of sentry type tower stroke gun setup. You can kind of see all that kind of stuff there. Obviously, they're shooting at this location in Scotland. There's a second location in Scotland that we know about at Glen Tilt, which about an hour and a half away from this location. Even more remote in that it's kind of 15 kilometres off public roads into a private estate. There's pictures come out from that of what looks much more like a rebel base. Bridges they've built crossing water looks a lot more rustic than kind of what you're seeing here, and where it kind of felt a little bit like you said, Imperial. It's a little bit more modern, a little bit more slick looking. The huge infrastructures kind of tends to lean towards Imperials.
Just wondering if the two locations, if they're meant to be the same planet. I think that could certainly pass for that. The two different locations. I've got a friend who works in the mountain rescue who's actually done the Glen Tilt walk before, and I think it's a bit of a killer. But it's I might drum up his support and maybe actually go and do it, see what we can spot there as well.
Yeah. When we were there as well, security was becoming tighter and tighter. They were doing basically circles of the road in vehicles, checking for suspicious Star Wars fans. As the gear towards filming, which my estimate's going to be the end of this week into next week, before filming's really coming to this location. Just my gut feeling. I think I'd seen paperwork online that suggested that they were going to be there through the 18th of June, so obviously there's a breakdown period, so next week kind of makes sense. As Matt said, they are well funded, spending a lot of money to kind of get to these locations. Andor's been pretty much all corners of the UK. Not the easiest place to get to in the world. Your thoughts as to what's happening with the Andor TV series and what we could be expecting?
Very excited by what I'm seeing so far. I mean, the multiple different locations that they've been to. in the UK are all sort of pulling different vibes for, like, obviously for going from a beach scene to up in the hills with a dam, and as you say, the location at Glen Tilt, there's been bridges built there, and they've obviously set up a camp because it's so far away from civilization. So very excited to see what happens with the show, and if it's anything like Rogue One, we're in for an absolute treat.
And they are also looking for military people as well. In the area, there's a lot of listings looking for extras. They've been looking for extras since last year for the area, and they're giving a kind of vague description as to where they are, because I'm guessing they're covering both locations. So it's people with military experience that they're looking for.
Unfortunately, I don't think scouts counts. That's as close as I get to military is scouts as a kid, or martial arts training. But no, one of these days we'll make it onto the set of Star Wars and get an extra part, hopefully.
Yeah. And this location was a good 3-4 mile hike,
uphill walk.
Yeah. Not excruciating on the basis that it's tarmacked, but tough enough because it was 25-26 degree heat.
It was killer. I actually think I've worn holes in both my trainers from that walk up, and my feet still aren't the same since. So yeah, the rest of the feet the rest of the week.
And the interesting bit for me as well, Glen Tilt, where they're filming, is known locally as Star Wars Valley, nicknamed by the RAF pilots who use it as part of their training, and they think it resembles the Death Star trench. So Star Wars Valley is now home to Star Wars TV filming, which is kind of ironic, I guess.
Can't get better than that, really, can you?
No. So that kind of covers our trip, visiting this location in Scotland. We're going to get these photos up on the website so you guys can all peruse them, study them, see what you spot, see what we've missed, form your own ideas as well. And meanwhile, we're going to head over to Jabba's court, and we're going to be discussing this week's episode of the Bad Batch, if I can find the right button. And I found it. So here's the intro. So, Bad Batch this week, Rampage. What was your thoughts on the episode overall to start with?
Really enjoyed the episode. It was nice to see a bit more of Omega and their character developing. Some nice. I'll say that towards the end of the episode, she picks up a new weapon, which I think beforehand you kind of thought was like something the Night Sisters would have had in Clone Wars. I can't remember the name of the species now in the episode now, but it's something she's sort of pinched from them. Just the way she was kind of her interaction with the sort of slavers in terms of what you sneak about round back there. She says, "I'm not sneaking about. I'm unlocking this." It's just really cool. And the debut of Muchi the Rancor. Let me tell you about Muchi the Rancor. Also introduced Sid, another Trandoshan character, which was really cool. Hunter complaining about not Hunter, sorry. What's his name? Oh, the big bad bat, Zygerians. Thank you, Mark. What's the big hulky one called again? You can tell it's a new show. I haven't quite got all the names in my head. Complaining about his sore head. So there's obviously something going on there with after him gently bashing his head that something's going on with the chip in his head there. And Bib Fortuna and Gamorreans. Wrecker, thanks, Mark Newbold. Yeah, having Gamorrean guards and Bib Fortuna. I think I'm right in saying that's the first time we've seen Bib and Gamorreans in animated form. The chat might keep me right, but as far as I remember, that's the first time we've seen an animated. Nice to see Matt Wood back doing the voice of Bib Fortuna as well.
Definitely. Was there a highlight for you in the episode?
I would say having Bib Fortuna and the Gamorreans, they look stunning in animated form. I think that was Gambos were in the Clone Wars. Yeah, it's been a while since I've watched it. I need to catch up again. But having Matt Wade as well as Bib was fantastic. Obviously, he played him in Phantom Menace and in the Book of Boba. So I think it's nice kind of tying Bib into the story, having Moochie. It'll be interesting to see how Moochie relates, if Moochie is relation to the Rancor that Luke kills in Jedi. It'd be nice to see the Rancor keeper, Malachi. It would be nice to see him in the episode. That's a part I could play quite easily.
I could do that as well. I was just thinking, definitely one suited for us.
Yeah, we could be a pair of Rancor keepers.
Once again, the animation levels next level. Really, some
absolutely stunning,
really beautiful shots. Mr. Newbold's included in the review that's up on Fanta Tracks. I'm stealing some of them here. Here's a Rancor you've been speaking about there as well, and I'm just loving the designs on the clone troopers as well.
Yeah, the helmets are stunning. Done a fantastic job. It's we're 5 episodes in, obviously 6 episodes on Friday. Thankfully, got a day off, so I'll be able to watch it first thing when it comes on this week. But loving it so far, especially the sort of 70-minute episode that kicked it off. It's just nice to be back in the Clone Wars again. I know it's not in the Clone Wars, but it just feels like the Clone Wars. The animations, as you say, is stunning. It's just brilliant. Spending time with Matt. There you go. That's kind of like bow thing that Omega's got on her arm there. I'll be interested to see how she gets to use that coming episodes. See her using it in the trailer.
What's your theory on Omega? Do you think she's just an advanced clone? Do you think there's more to the story there?
It's interesting to see everyone's different viewpoints on this. I think she's probably another clone, but of in the same way that you had Boba Fett was a clone of Django Unaltered. It's the Kaminoans have basically made a female version of Django, but maybe developed some of the traits of the Bad Batch as well, because they've all got obviously heightened skills in certain different ways. I know there's some chat out there maybe being Palpatine related in some way, or
I would like that purely because I would like to see them bring Exegol into it to some degree, trying to link the two together. Was there some kind of link up between the Gamorreans and Palpatine? Was there a Rogue One kind of left and helped set up his cloning facility? Because in theory, the two cloning facilities were running side by side, timeline wise, if not being shown on screen at the same time. They would had to have been growing all those Snokes and the bodies for Palpatine, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how all those sort of Sith disciples appeared on Exegol. As you say, were they cloned, or how's that all come about? there's so many little loose ends that the animated shows or the live action shows can sort of fill in some of the gaps and tie some of the stories together. It's a good time to be it's definitely a good time to be a Star Wars fan. Plenty of content.
Definitely. Steve Jordan there, he's thrown out the suggestion that it's supposed to be a sister to the Bad Batch. It could be something as simple as that. Maybe we're all looking for that deeper meaning.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't have to be related to anybody. Like, could be a nobody like Rey was in Episode 8 before she became a Palpatine.
Yeah, everyone's kind of looking for the usual Dave Filoni traits of there being some kind of link, whether it's Ahsoka, whether it's going to be Jango Fett. Is there going to be some kind of crossover between the live action and the Bad Batch? Do you see something on the horizon?
Well, we've already had obviously Fennec Shand in the last episode. I think if I was in the right path with the sort of the clone of Django for Omega's a clone of Django again, but obviously tweaked. We might get to see Boba Fett in the show again with Book of Boba coming out at Christmas time. It'd be a way to kind of tie that in together. And obviously we've also got Fennec Shand in the show as well. So it's going to be interesting to see who hired Fennec to go after Omega as well. So I'm kind of hoping we might find that out this week.
Is there anything about the show that you haven't liked? Because obviously everyone's looking at this, looking back to Clone Wars, which everyone kind of holds in high regard. We've had Rebels, which people seem to enjoy. Resistance, people maybe less impressed with. So Bad Batch has had like a bit of a mountain to climb to get that fan excitement back to Clone Wars levels. Is it working for you?
Absolutely. I think so far there's only been one episode where I've kind of felt it was a little bit of a, I don't like using the word filler because I think it all kind of adds together to a bigger story. And but what I like about the show is the little bits it's introducing to kind of show you how the stormtroopers kind of came about, and stormtroopers and clone troopers together, and it's going to be interesting to see how that develops as a story as well. Will there be a clone war with clones battling stormtroopers? Because you don't really see any clones in the original trilogy, so it's like, do the stormtroopers wipe them out? Yeah. Clones are better shots, so you wouldn't think so, but
is that where you kind of envision the series going? Do you think that's something that we might see on the horizon?
Yeah, I think we might end up getting a bit of a clones versus stormtroopers type of thing, and having, I mean, obviously the Bad Batch does feel a lot of the times like a bit of an A-Team style vibe in terms of each episode they've got a kind of mission to get to complete. But I do think with Tarkin being in it and this new character whose name escapes me, Rampart, yeah. Having Rampart obviously working with getting the stormtroopers up and running, it'll be interesting to see if that does to come to pass, where you've got clones versus stormtroopers.
I'm holding out for Krennic. It's kind of cameos I would like to see.
Sweet.
That's the kind of cameo that would work well for me, I think. And he could just about get into that era, I think. Be a little underling to Tarkin somewhere.
I'd be very happy if Biston, the space monkey, popped
definitely.
up in
Another
any
R1
form.
R1 character not used. You could even have space shuttle pilot Bodhi. He could be in there, just a little cameo, delivering someone something. You could throw a few little fun ones in there just for the fans.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's the kind of little crossovers I would like to see. Just a little subtle, pointless little cameo. Just him loading up a shuttle in the background. Bodhi Rook, Mr. Newbold, always there with a great answer at the right time.
Bodhi Rook.
That's the one. And then, of course, you can link. I'm actually thinking more than anything there's scope to link Bad Batch to Andor. Everyone's kind of looking at Boba series. They could link it to Django that way. I would like to see it go the opposite and go in the direction of Rogue One. We've kind of mentioned a few opportunities there, and I think that would be kind of cool.
That'd be sweet. Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, I think that's going to be us for the night. We've covered quite a lot there. We've catched up on all the Star Wars news the past week, told us all about our little adventure in the Highlands of Scotland, and it's been fun catching up with you again. Great making that trip with you. Long journey down, but always fun.
Good to
hopefully
catch
we're
up,
all going to be catching up with each other in conventions very soon, as restrictions seem to be lifting all across the UK and in happier parts of the world, and hopefully everyone's going to be close behind us as well. And always fun talking to you. Good morning, Tatooine. We'll be back a week on Sunday, and then every Sunday after then. No episode this Sunday, as we have a little break after this midweek catch up, so I hope to see you all back Sunday week, 9 p.m. in the UK, 4 p.m. in New York, and figure it out from there if you're somewhere else. Okay, so thanks again for joining me, Greg, and that's it, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks again, Brian. Cheers.
Keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news each and every day on FanthaTracks.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, and Pinterest at FanthaTracks. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow FanthaTracks TV to be alerted to new content and to be a part of our live show.